Hello and welcome to the Sydney Shawl call. My name is Mirka and I'm designer behind Exquisite Crochet UK. I team up with We Crochet and together we brought you this amazing call. So whether you are a Tunisian crochet beginner or more advanced, this project is just for you. We will take each stitch combination and technique step by step slowly so you'll be able to master them, even if you've never worked Tunisian crochet before. So without further ado, let's dive in. Let's talk about the tools, materials and notions that you will need for this call. So first of all, the yarn. You will need 100 grams skeins or hunks of fingering weight yarn. For my sample and the recommended yarn for this call is straw fingering weight yarn, and I've got Blue Yonder, Poppy Fields and Guppy Tonal for my project. So I've got these hanks here and I've got them in caked and ready. Also, you will need 4.5mm Tunisian crochet hook with a cable at least 24 inches long. You will also need scissors and cable needle. However, if you don't have cable needle, that's not an issue. Once we get to cables, I will show you some other tricks how to work cables without the cable needle. Let's talk about gauge or tension. So for this project, we've got 22 stitches and 16 rows in 4 by 4 inches or 10 times 10 centimeters in Tunisian simple and Tunisian pearl stitch, which is the honeycomb stitch combination. So what I would recommend you to start working a small swatch about 5 times 5 inches, so you can measure the inner 4 times 4 inches. So if you are getting more than 22 stitches, that means you are crocheting slightly tighter than I do, and in that case I will go a size up in your crochet hook. If you've got too few stitches in your swatch, then I would go a size down. Just a note on the crochet hook sizing. For Tunisian crochet, we tend to go at least two sizes up as per the recommended yarn. And the reason why is because of the way we work the stitches. If we use the same size hook as is recommended for the yarn for a regular or traditional crochet, your stitches would be packed too tightly, the fabric would be dense without any drape, and that's not what we want for shawls. That's why I chose the 4.5mm crochet hook for this project, to give it that beautiful drape and the flow that you would like in your shawl. So we covered the basic tools and materials, and now let's dive into the crocheting of our shawl. So we start with color A. In this case, for me, it's the red color or guppy. So we start with a slip knot. To make a slip knot, you wrap the yarn around your fingers once, then you insert the long end in the middle and pull tightly until you enclose the loop. You then place the loop on your hook. As you can see, I started without a cable, and the reason why is because for the first section we are starting only from 3 stitches. First we place the loop on the hook and tighten. We then chain 3, so we wrap the yarn around the hook, pull through once, wrap the yarn around the hook, pull through second time, wrap the yarn around the hook and pull through third time. Got our 3 chains, and now we will work the foundation row, and they will be in 2 steps. As you know, Tunisian crochet is worked in 2 steps, so that's forward pass and return pass. On the forward pass we are adding stitches or loops on the hook, and on the return pass we work those stitches or loops off the hook, so we always end up with 1 loop on our hook. So there are many ways how you can work the foundation row. some crocheters prefer to work into the top loop of your chain stitches, some prefer it to the bottom. What I like to do, I like to turn the chain around and work into the back bumps of your chain stitches there. So we are going to go into the back bump from front to back, yarn over and pull up a loop. We've got 2 loops on our hook, and we do that once more. So insert the hook from front to back, yarn over and pull up a loop. We started with 3 chains, and we added loop on the hook for each corresponding chain, so we ended up with 3 loops on our hook. So that's how we work the forward pass. Now we are going to work return pass, which would be the standard return pass of yarn over and pull through 1. This is also known as chain 1, yarn over and pull through 2, yarn over and pull through 2. Right, so we've got the beginning of our shawl. This was the row number 1, which is also known as the foundation row. From row number 2, we start increasing stitches so that the shawl will be gradually increasing. For this shawl, there is a pattern of increasing, so we will increase 2 stitches at the beginning for 3 rows. Then the next row will be increase of 3 stitches, and we will be decreasing 1 stitch on the edge. So as we will be working our rows, you will exactly get what I mean. And we will maintain this pattern of increasing and decreasing throughout the whole shawl, no matter which section we'll be working. Okay, so for row number 2, we will work a Tunisian knit stitch into the next stitch, then we will increase and work the edge stitch. Okay, so this first stitch, we are not going to work the first stitch. The reason why is that we already have 1 loop on our hook, and this 1 loop corresponds to the first stitch. So we will work the Tunisian knit stitch into that stitch here, the middle one. So Tunisian knit stitch is worked from front to back. We will place the hook between the front and back vertical bar, just there. Okay, so let's go ahead and work Tunisian knit stitch into the middle stitch there. We yarn over and pull up a loop, like so. And then we will increase. So for this pattern, I selected increase stitches to be worked into the front horizontal bar. So here at the end, it's not as obvious or as visible where we place the hook. It's a little bit easier to recognize it at the beginning of the row where we will be working the increases later on. So again, you locate the last horizontal bar before the edge stitch there. You will place the hook from front to back, yarn over, pull up a loop, and that's an increase of 1 stitch. And then we will work the edge stitch. So for edge stitch, we need to turn the work towards ourselves. As you can see, the very last stitch has got 2 strands of yarn there. And we will work under both of these. So we'll insert the hook under both of these strands of yarn. Yarn over, pull up a loop. Okay, so as you can see, we've started the foundation row with 3 stitches, and then for row number 2 we've got 4. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4 stitches. This is the one before the last is the stitch that we increased. So we had 1 loop on the hook already from the previous row. That's stitch number 1. We then worked 1 Tunisian knit stitch, one increase stitch and one edge or end stitch there. And now for row number 2 we will work standard return pass. So as you might remember, standard return pass is yarn over, pull through 1, and then yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. We are going to work row number 3. For row number 3 we will work Tunisian knit stitch, increase, Tunisian knit stitch, increase, and end stitch. So again, Tunisian knit stitch is worked between the front and back vertical bars. So we insert the hook from front to back between the front vertical bar, yarn over, pull up a loop. Then we locate the next horizontal bar, which is here. We increase 1 stitch under the front horizontal bar. We work a Tunisian knit stitch into the next stitch, like so. Then again we located the next front horizontal bar, which is here. We will work an increase stitch there, yarn over, pull up a loop, work the edge stitch on this side, and as you can see now you've got 6 loops on your hook, 2 from the edge stitches, so the one that was on the hook at the beginning, 1 from Tunisian knit stitch, then increase, Tunisian knit stitch, increase, and end stitch. So from this row number 3 we will, and in every row after row number 3 we will work standard return pass with a decrease. So what do we do is we yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2, all the way to the beginning. So what this did, this decreased the last 2 stitches into 1 stitch. So as we work the next row, row number 4, we will work only 1 stitch into those 2, because these 2 by the yarn over, pull through 2 at the beginning were reduced to 1 stitch. Now for row number 4 we will work Tunisian knit stitch and increase twice, then we will work Tunisian simple stitch and end stitch. So again, Tunisian knit stitch into the first stitch, then 1 increase into the horizontal bar, Tunisian knit stitch and increase, and then into the 1 stitch before the last one we will work Tunisian simple. So Tunisian simple is a new stitch, we haven't worked this one before. So we will place the hook from right to left under the front vertical bar, yarn over and pull up a loop, and then we will work end stitch like so. So as you can see, now we've got 7 stitches, we increased 2, and we will work standard return pass with the decrease. So we yarn over, pull through 2, so we've done the decrease, yarn over, pull through 2 all the way to the beginning. For row number 5 we will work Tunisian knit stitch and increase 3 times, followed by Tunisian knit stitch and end stitch. So by now you got into the rhythm of increasing, so we will work Tunisian knit stitch and increase, that's 1 repeat, Tunisian knit stitch and increase, and 1 more time Tunisian knit stitch and increase. Now Tunisian simple stitch and end stitch, and again standard return pass with decrease, yarn over, pull through 2 all the way to the beginning of your row. For row number 6, we will start working our honeycomb stitch pattern, which is a combination of Tunisian simple and Tunisian pearl stitch. We'll work Tunisian knit stitch and increase, Tunisian knit stitch and increase, and now we start working the honeycomb stitch pattern. So we'll be alternating Tunisian simple stitches with Tunisian pearl stitches within a row and then between rows as well. So we'll start with Tunisian simple stitch and Tunisian pearl stitch. We haven't worked this yet, so I'm going to slowly show you. So Tunisian pearl stitch is worked with your yarn at front, and so while before we worked with the stitches with the yarn behind your work, now you will need to bring the yarn forward. So you will bring it forward in front of the hook and work the next stitch from right to left, yarn over and pull up a loop. Okay, so that's Tunisian pearl stitch. So we will now work Tunisian simple and Tunisian pearl. So bring the yarn forward, insert the hook from right to left, yarn over, pull up a loop, and end stitch. And for this row we will also work return pass with decrease. For row number 7, we will work 2 increases. So start with Tunisian knit stitch, increase, Tunisian knit stitch, and increase. And now, as you can see, in the we need to alternate Tunisian pearl stitches and Tunisian simple stitches between the rows as well. So if you look at where is your first Tunisian simple stitch in the row below, it's here. So when we count backwards, this would be Tunisian pearl, this would be Tunisian simple in the row below. And because we need to alternate the stitches between the rows as well, so alternate to Tunisian simple would be Tunisian pearl. So we will start working Tunisian pearl stitch, and we will alternate Tunisian pearl stitch with Tunisian simple stitch until the last stitch. So as you can see, these are now beautifully alternating. While we had Tunisian pearl stitch in the row below, we work Tunisian simple, and now we end with Tunisian pearl stitch and end stitch. So as you can see, you can already see on row number 7 that the edge is starting to curve lightly. This is because of the decrease of 1 stitch that we are working at the beginning of the return pass for particular row. And also this edge is starting to curve slightly because of the increases that we are working at the beginning of our rows. So we will continue working row number 7 with standard return pass with decrease. So now we are on row number 8. Row number 8 has got 2 increases at the beginning of the row. So we start with Tunisian knit and then increase, Tunisian knit and increase, and then we continue alternating Tunisian simple and purl stitches. So again, where we find the first stitch that was worked in the row below, if you remember, that was Tunisian purl stitch. So if we count or alternate it backwards, this would be Tunisian simple, this would be purl. So the one row above needs to start with Tunisian simple stitch. So work Tunisian simple stitch, purl, simple, purl, and we continue the pattern to the last stitch, which is end stitch, and standard return pass with decrease. For row number 9, we will increase 3 times and then continue alternating Tunisian simple and Tunisian purl stitches. So we need to work Tunisian knit, increase, Tunisian knit and increase. There was 2 times and 1 more, Tunisian knit and increase. Now we look at the stitches that we worked in the row below. As you can see, this is purl, this would be simple, and this would be purl if the stitch pattern continued this way. So that's why we need to start row number 9 with Tunisian simple stitch after your increased stitches. So we will work Tunisian simple, purl, simple, purl to the last stitch where we will work the end stitch. Followed by standard return pass with decrease. So we are now at row number 10. This will be the last row that we will work together, and then you will continue from rows number 11 up to row 29 in the pattern that we established. With row number 30 is the last row of this honeycomb section, and this would be the last row for this week for your Sydney shawl. Row number 30 is slightly different because after we do increase stitches, we work Tunisian simple stitch across the whole row followed by an end stitch. So let's work now row number 10 together. This row has 2 increases. As you know, previously in the row number 9 we increased 3 times, so now we are back to increasing twice. So Tunisian knit stitch and increase, Tunisian knit stitch and increase, and we will start with Tunisian purl stitch followed by Tunisian simple and continue in the established stitch pattern. All the way up to the last stitch where we work the end stitch. So if you count your stitches at the end of row 10, and this would be after your decrease, you would have 14 stitches on your hook. So when we count these stitches, that's 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 15, and this is because we haven't done our decrease stitch on return pass yet. Once we do the standard return pass with decrease, we will see that we will end up with 14 stitches. It's not necessary for you to count your stitches at every row. There are two ways how to check whether you are progressing in a good way. So I usually count my stitches every couple of rows, and the stitch pattern will also help you to see whether you are on the right track, because if you don't alternate the Tunisian simple and Tunisian pearl stitches, the stitch pattern will not be coming right. You will see that something is just off in the stitch pattern. So your Tunisian simple and Tunisian pearl stitches need to alternate within a row and also between rows. And if you work Tunisian simple stitch into Tunisian simple stitch in the row above, you will very clearly see that something is off on the stitch pattern. I'm going to work standard written pass with decrease for row number 10, and then you will work at your own pace, at your own time, the rest of the rows for the honeycomb section. I hope you found the instructions for the first week of the Sydney Shawl call useful. I'll see you in the next tutorial next week, and I'll see you next week. Bye bye.